right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MCJ Report. We've got a bit of a casual broadcast this evening, not our typical MCJ Report format with the city in the background, just going a bit more casual for tonight to have a little bit of a chat about some mostly international affairs this evening because, of course, what goes on in the world, it does indeed affect us here at home. It's not just the people who work within our parliaments that affect our lives, but obviously what goes on an international scale as well. So I'd like to welcome everybody to the broadcast. If you can hear me loud and clear, then go ahead and make a comment in the chat. Better yet, go ahead and give the broadcast a share it out there. Get the word out to your friends and family. We are live, MCJ Report. I'd like to welcome you all to the show. If it is indeed your first time watching, I'm your host, Morgan Charles Jonas, and I am very happy indeed that you have chosen to be here with me this evening on this soggy Wednesday night here in Melbourne, Australia, which is where I am broadcasting from. But of course, the wonderful and dedicated MCJ Report viewers live all over Australia and even in other countries around the world. So why don't you go ahead and put in the chat comments where you are tuned in from. We have great people, and of course, those who love freedom come from many different countries all around the world. So go ahead, share the broadcast, and let's get this show on the road. So what exactly are we talking about this evening, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we're going to talk about a few things. Mostly we're going to talk about China's massive emerging military. So when we talk about China, we are referring to the world's largest population, but we're also talking about the world's largest military population at approximately 2 million active duty military personnel. Okay, so to put it in perspective, here in Australia, we have less than 100,000. But that figure is projected to not just increase a little bit, but to multiply many times over. So we're going to have a bit of a talk about that and to speculate a little bit on what that means and where it's heading. We're going to run through some regular news tonight as well. We've seen, of course, the 12th consecutive increase to interest rates, and the RBA Governor Philip Lowe conducting a pretty interesting 45-minute address, answering a bunch of questions. I think that most people are starting to read between the lines and to understand the real motivation behind why these interest rates seem to be increasing time and time again. So we're going to speculate on that a little bit as well. And there's a few other headlines. Of course, we see the drag queen story time events, the drag events, let's call them, that are targeted at children. The organisers are trying to actually get more covert now. If you've noticed, they're trying to encourage parents not to tell their friends and family about the events. They're trying to encourage parents not to post about these events online. But the truth is, these events are so wildly unpopular with, well, most people. Most people would agree that these events absolutely have no place being in front of children, that the lid cannot stay on what's going on. And of course, we need to remember that protecting the innocence of children is nothing more than a normal duty in a civilized society. So what I'd like to encourage you all to do, okay, given that I have a good social media reach, which I'm very blessed to have, I have a good expansive email list as well. I want to get the word out there for every single event that takes place in terms of when children are involved in these inappropriate events, in order to inform as many people as possible. That's right. So whenever you hear about these events, the best thing you can do is send a direct message through my social media at Facebook. So my Facebook handle is morgancjonas.com, and I'll make sure that it gets out to the right people. Or send me an email, morgan@mcjreport.com. This one right here. So really easy to remember. If someone could put that in the chat comments, whether you're watching on Facebook, Rumble, or YouTube, I'd really appreciate that. morgan@mcjreport.com, because the least that I can do is really get the word out there, because a lot of parents are actually unaware that these events are taking place. And you know you have a real problem when the Premier of Victoria, just to really shove it in the faces of millions of concerned Victorians, will host a drag event targeted at children in Parliament. You know, I mean, you just see Daniel Andrews. Clearly, he's very infatuated. Clearly, he has a a huge passion, let's just say, a huge taking to these particular types of performers. And what I would say is that if you have somebody in your life who looks at you the way that Dan Andrews looks at drag queens, then you've been probably looked after. The big man upstairs has done something all right by you. But anyway, we're going to get started. I'm just going to make sure that we're connected here. I can see Facebook is connected, YouTube is connected, and of course our wonderful Rumble community is alive and well. So please go ahead and share the broadcast. Share it out far and wide. Tell your friends, tell your family. You're watching MCJ Report, and I, of course, am your host, Morgan Charles Jonas. So let's get this underway, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen. Alrighty, so what do we have first? We're going to run through some news articles. Alrighty, so rising number of students quitting school before year 12. Now, why do you think that is, ladies and gentlemen? I have some friends there. They work in the capacity as relief teachers and work around a variety of different schools in Victoria. And what they tell me is that the life and enthusiasm has overall really been done away with in the classrooms. Children are feeling very demoralized. They don't respect their teachers. They're sick and tired of the woke agendas. They don't want to participate in gender diversity events. They don't want to participate in surveys that question them about their inner feelings, whether or not they think they may have been born in the wrong body. And as far as I'm concerned, nobody is born in the wrong body. And children are demoralized. So to me, it's no surprise that, quote, rising number of students are quitting before year 12. The culture that is being fostered, that it has been cast down by the Victorian state government via the Department of Education, has gone completely in the gutter. So students recognize this. They don't respect it. There is a growing number of students in our state who are becoming more and more frustrated with the perpetual pushing of these woke agendas. And many students are actually rising up now and walking all over any teacher that seeks to instruct them otherwise. So Victorian students are deciding that they've had enough. And if we want children to actually enjoy school, then we need to make school enjoyable, objective, and not based on the boogeyman. All right, let's keep moving along here. Leah Thomas, the transgender swimmer teammates kept quiet over locker room issue. This is pretty interesting. I'm just going to read you a little segment here. Former teammate of transgender swimmer Leah Thomas has spoken out against the University of Pennsylvania shutting down anyone against Thomas's use of the women's locker room. So we do see this, women being intimidated into silence. There's lots of women out there. They do not want to share these women-only spaces with biological men. Okay, they're not comfortable with the male anatomy around them in a locker room environment, which is absolutely normal. It's justified. No woman should ever be made to feel unsafe due to the presence of a man. And I think that we've really taken society in a very dangerous direction here in the Western world, right? And you need to remember, this type of stuff is really not taking place in countries east of Germany, all right? So we're looking at Germany, west of Germany, Canada, the United States, Australia, and New Zealand. These countries seem to be hell-bent on destroying the very fabric of what makes our culture, traditions, and society. And it is incumbent on every man and woman who actually values our culture and traditions to stand up and to push back against this by any means necessary. And what I strongly encourage everybody to do is to be the change that you want to see in the world. Now, I know that is a bit of a catchphrase, and it's been said many times before, but honestly, be the change that you want to see in Australia. If you're sick and tired of our broken education system, then study up and become a teacher or support somebody else to become a teacher. If you're sick and tired of the garbage and the perpetual pushing of woke agendas in local government, then run for council elections. And I'm going to have a lot to say about that really soon. If you believe that our military should be bigger and stronger, and if you're a young man, then go ahead, sign up, join the ADF. If you're sick of the bureaucracy and the red tape and the shenanigans of the Reserve Bank, then join the bureaucracy and go ahead and make it a better place. I made a post the other day whereby I said that nobody has the right to complain about something of which they're not willing to participate in solving. And I really do stand by that. So listen, the truth is we're Australians, we're strong, we're smart, we're capable, and collectively we can absolutely put this tremendous assault on our country to bed. We just need to get into a bit more action. So make sure that you stay tuned, because I'll be doing a lot. I've got a lot on my plate, but I'm not going anywhere. Make sure that you hit the follow button. Make sure that you sign up, mcjreport.com/newsletter, and I will keep you in the loop with everything that I'm doing, everything going on with the Freedom Party of Victoria, and together we will win. All right, drunk with power. Andrew's government halts ads in the Herald Sun. The speculation, that's just a funny photo of Dan Andrews. I mean, every photo is funny. It's pretty clear to me that simply by looking at the man, you can tell there's something severely wrong with him. It's hard to exactly put your finger on what it is. He's always got some sort of really bizarre expression on his face, whether it's this one right there or this particular photo right here. But Dan Andrews, of course, doing his best to emulate those of whom he looks up to with such admiration in the Chinese Communist Party, and he has done so for a long time. Shutting down these ads in the Herald Sun and Age, speculation being because there have been articles in these papers critical of Dan Andrews. So the number one rule in a communist society is that under no circumstances do you criticize the supreme leader. And that's what Daniel Andrews truly sees himself as. The truth is, he's nothing more than a glorified office boy who has never had a real job. He's never picked up a hammer. He's never worked on a job site. He's simply weaved his way through politics, being as manipulative as they come, and has been able to really game the system to land himself on a big wicket with the Victorian Parliament wrapped around his little finger. But ladies and gentlemen,